And now we move on to one of my favourites of Bong Joon-ho's films, the very wholesome, modest accomplishment that is 2017's Okja, one of the first really prestigious films to be distributed via Netflix prior to Cuarón's Roma deemed it extremely viable a method of releasing one's films without dampening one's cultural esteem either. Okja is one of the most triumphant demonstrations of how computer graphics enable an imaginative elasticity that allow for more varied stories and of similar depth to orthodox realism, despite being comparatively speculative. I would challenge the anti-CGI bloc to view this and decry it as invalid or an apparently hollow production. I've been of a mind that Spielberg's E.T. was far too unlikably, condescendingly, cheaply sentimental, although for those who may disagree, or perhaps agree and simply not mind this about that film, how could they dismiss an essentially superior E.T. that happens to employ computer graphics instead of that demonic puppet? So whether you appreciated E.T. or not, I feel as though Okja is essentially a vast transcending title, a fondness for older VFX where that picture was concerned, and a hesitance toward the sometimes inevitably sloppy excess of computer graphics. Well, Okja is far from going overboard in that respect, and to those who would dislike the 82 film, well, here's a finer realization of a vaguely similar premise via Joon-ho's visionary convictions. I had not seen this since around the time of its release. I may have slightly felt a bit disappointed that Okja was never a film which inspired any rewatches or even much thought in the years subsequent to its release anyway. It is hard to ignore that Parasite's release, what can be claimed to be Juno's masterpiece at that, definitely overshadowed Okja in the long term, yet watching Okja again, it actually holds up beautifully, better than I remember when watching it because I want to, not just because I needed to catch up on some acclaimed films at the end of 2017, start of 2018, or whenever it exactly was. I think Okja is better than anyone will expect, and is actually the best kind of film it could be given the recognizable narrative parameters it chooses to operate among. This will not be the very final Joon-ho video. I've viewed a small collection of 3 of his short films. I'll use those, speeding them up, as a backdrop for reading out some accessible wiki info on the artist's inspirations, which is highly worth a look. I'll read it out in that video to anyone at all interested in that, somehow interested. Obviously, it's very easy to expect other people would be interested in the films of Bong Joon-ho, but my takes on these films? I don't use enough pillaged clips to engage the more functional braindeads of this site's viewers, yet I've managed to secure a very impressive sum of subscribers considering that. Long ago I figured that I wanted my words to have some merit, and if they did, they would stand out beyond them being the vacuous ambience to some stolen clips from other people's life's works, so I just nabbed the screenshots instead. Sped them up on the odd occasion, but it was all in the hope of having my writings or spontaneous pitiful lunatic ravings hold up on their own terms, if they did, and not having them seem more of value than they were due to them having someone else's film's clips playing over them being dryly narrated, right? But hey, that's Okja, do check it out. Anyone, you'll all like it, unless you really, 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 really hate E.T. I don't at all hate E.T., I don't care for it much, and I really appreciate Okja. So, if you detest E.T., yes, stay away, I guess. There may be better comparisons than E.T. Pick any film where a human and an animal bond, but the whole government or escape angle makes me think of E.T. Everyone will think of E.T. And you know exactly what I mean when I say it is like E.T. Even though the super pig is not an alien, but a genetically modified Earth animal, future's cattle, or so they intend. Hey, once again, thanks again for putting up with these vapid incendiary videos. I'm just sick and tired of pretending everything is just fine with the way things are, even in incredibly trivial matters, such as the discourse on films. Partly because, why not, you know? It is way more fun this way. I've tried both. This is way more entertaining. Plus, it makes me less angry in real life. I can regulate my emotions onto this inane channel, onto trivial subjects, rather than losing control over the obscene inequalities, sociopaths, or smug defenses of attempted genocide. It brings one down, makes one angry, so we get it out on here instead of in public, at otherwise friendly gatherings or when reading certain columns in a news page, paper, or over a broadcast. Apparently, certain cultural conservatives in Australia consider the negative traits of fascism to be the types of people they killed, or that they just went too far with the killing generally. Enforcing repression, that's good, but killing people for it, that's not good. But when we find an excuse, oh yeah, we'll kill them with it. It's coming right for us, fire style. Am I right? Hopefully I am not right. On matters of non-film related issues, I don't want to be right, because I'm always expecting the worst of others, so where the political matters are concerned, I really love being wrong about them. Absolutely love it. Or I would love it, I suspect.